Go.
Turn around all right?
Still had audio during all that, apparently.
Oh dear.
Bandwidth for VT Talk is provided by vaporworld.co.uk.
Yes, apparently there was audio throughout the whole of the start. Well, fair enough. That's the way it has to be tonight, I'm afraid, because, yes, there's all sorts to talk about this week, and there's good news in amongst it. But we've got the FDA hearing, we've got e-cig and British American tobacco, we've got Imperial tobacco getting into the market, and then the EU and the Tobacco Product Directive. That's all coming up tonight on VT Talk. And tonight we've got a guest in the studio. We set this up last week from York. His name's Matt. Everybody will know him as, it's Gluggles. Is it Gluggles or Glugglers? I can never remember because I never have my glasses on.
Gluggler on the forum. The shop's called Gluggles. So
that's why I get myself confused. It's
yeah.
Gluggler on the forum. So if you're around, whether it's UKV, whether it's EC, all over the place. You might not even have seen the face, but this is the man. And before we get into it, Matt, can you do that thing that you did with your camera earlier? Because this is an off license that Matt has, and he's sat in tonight. I wish I had a backdrop like this. I'd have it all drunk by the end of the night. And this is how every off license should look, in my view. Show them what it all looks like.
Right, so this is only part of it that you can see where the cam's set up, but we've got e-liquids that go all the way along here, starter kits up here, all the way along. There's more e-liquids to the end there. If I keep turning the camera around, then we've got more e-liquids over there, that's flavour art, and then we've got some tea juice liquid up there, and on the top shelf, just out of shot, is a whole load of Janty e-liquids. So there's a whole range. And if you look when cigarette display is in the off license, we've got SD keying kits, which I'm sure everybody's seen before, but nice handy little pre-filled customized. So just to let people know about the options that are available. If they're smoking, it's not the end option.
Yeah,
and
Matt,
obviously
the camera doesn't like the blue coming through for whatever reason.
Right, no. That's why I just keep the screen down from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a whole range of liquids there. It really just started off with back in February last year, about 10 different types of e-liquid and a few starter kits, and I was just selling the odd kit here and there, and it's just snowballed completely. And the last few weeks, literally, I've noticed a huge change in the last 6 weeks or so. The number of kits that I'm selling just flying out. It's kind of snowballed where people see their friend with one, so they want a kit as well, and then they recommend it to their friend, and you get this big snowball effect. But I really think it's escalating at a rate of knots at the moment. Is just general vaping, It's great news.
Indeed, and that's exactly what Carl Phillips was on about in that presentation he gave, talking about the tipping point and the number of people taking it up, that it grows and it grows and it grows exponentially, which is all good. And indeed, he made. Did you manage to watch any of what happened on Monday at the FDA meeting?
Well, I was working, but I was kept dipping into it online and checking up what people were saying about it. And it seems that in the USA, they don't seem to have a concept of harm reduction at all. As far as the authorities are concerned, it's either you're a smoker or you're in therapy. And that's the way they view things. And hopefully Europe's not going to go that way as well. But and I think in terms of, the American situation's not something that I know a lot about, and I was going to do a heck of a lot of research on the FDA thing today, but there were other news stories that caught my eye today, and I ended up researching them instead. But I think there's worldwide there seems to be a big kind of shift by the regulators who were maybe caught on the back foot a year or two ago, and I think they're trying to catch up now. And it's our job to kind of keep things on a sensible level and make sure things don't go too far in the wrong direction.
Yes, quite. And the reference to stories, I suppose we need to get there, but I've kind of put things in a particular order because it seems to be rather more than coincidental. And yeah, it's all going to be interesting. Let's kind of turn things on the head and let's go, shall we, to the EU directive and its relevance to nicotine containing products and see what actually went out today. And I'm here to say that the blogs weren't wrong. The Velvet Glove and Iron Fist got it right with one typo. But let me just read it so everybody can understand. NCP's nicotine containing products fall outside the scope of Directive 2001/37/EC, and member states have so far taken different regulatory approaches to address these products, including regulating them as medicinal products, applying certain provisions that are used for tobacco products, or having no specific legislation. I've got to say I'm not aware of where there is full medicinal regulation, but that's possibly just me. Anyway, the proposal stipulates that NCP that either have a nicotine level exceeding 2 milligrams, a nicotine concentration exceeding 4 milligrams per milliliter, or whose intended use results in a mean maximum peak plasma concentration exceeding 4 nanograms per milliliter, may be placed on the market only if they have been authorised as medicinal products on the basis of their quality, safety and efficacy, and with a positive risk-benefit balance. NCP with nicotine levels below this threshold can be sold as consumer products provided they feature an adapted health warning. The nicotine threshold identified in this proposal has been established by considering the nicotine content of medicinal products, nicotine replacement therapies, for smoking cessation which have already received a marketing authorisation under the medicinal products regulations. And I'm just putting that up because I think I should. The proposal removes current legislative divergence between member states and the differential treatment between nicotine replacement therapies and nicotine containing products. It increases legal certainty and consolidates the ongoing development in member states. It also encourages research and innovation in smoking cessation with the aim of maximising health gains. Given the novelty and rapid increase of the NCP market, as well as their addictive and toxic character, there is an urgency to act before more people, unaware of the content and effects of these products, inadvertently develop a nicotine addiction. The labelling requirements set out in this proposal for NCP containing nicotine below the identified threshold will better inform consumers about the health risks associated with the products. And I would imagine, Sav, that chat is flying up at a hell of a rate of knots, am I right?
We had an awful lot of comments, roughly along the lines of 4 milligrams, question mark. Vaporman has said, if I had to use 2 milligram juice, I'd be right back on normal cigarettes. Gary Wood said, 4 milligram is a joke, I'd be on a litre a day. And Russell Orders just said, the EU directive is nothing about current users of NCPs. It's aimed at stopping people taking up the use of NCPs and becoming addicted to nicotine, and then maybe moving on to smoking. In my opinion, it does not address THR at all.
Well, he's right about that, and your camera's frozen again, by the way, Sav. I know, it's one of those nights. It'll be coming back in a second. Yes, it does not address tobacco harm reduction in any way, shape or form. It is in fact a modified version of quit or die. Matt, I'm going to ask you what your take is on that.
Well, my take is that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand the seriousness of the situation, that potential that could happen, but this plan with e-cigs is just so balmy, it's going to be very difficult for the politicians to justify. I mean, it is absolutely stupid. And bear in mind, it's got to go through now to all member states have got to agree it. There's a huge potential for these to be amended. And I think if they were talking about 4% instead of 4 milligrams, 40 instead of 4, I think then that would be generally accepted as a viable option, as a way of kind of light touch regulating them. But 4 milligrams, what are people going to be vaping 30 mils a day or something like that? It's absolutely ridiculous, and especially when the government, I know the UK government's getting good advice from people like Professor Stimpson and John Britton. They're all telling them that harm reduction will save millions of lives or hundreds of thousands of lives. They're all telling the government know the facts. They know, and they know that 4 milligrams won't work. Is basically people would just be buying their e-liquid abroad from the USA, from China. So it's not going to change vaping too much, but it's going to really make things awkward and put people off, put new vapors off starting. And people are going to get very sick as a result. And I mean that quite seriously. People will get ill if this policy's pushed through. And so it's going to be very, very hard for the politicians to justify it. At the moment, it's just the bureaucrats. But when it comes down to politicians that are facing a general election, having to kind of implement a policy like this, they're going to look stupid because it is a stupid policy. And part of me thinks they can't get it through because it is so balmy. But, let's not take our eye off the ball. We've got to obviously highlight to the press, to the media, to everyone that this plan is fine in principle, but it seriously needs some details amending quite drastically.
Well, I would argue that it's fine in principle, if I'm to be honest, because I don't think it is. What this effectively says is, if you take everything at face value and believe everything that the nannies tell you, the biggest killer is going to stay on the market. You're still going to be able to buy it. The box might look different. You might have a minimum buy quantity of 20 at a time, but you're still going to be able to buy the biggest killer. It's protected. It's protected from e-cigs taking over. Now, it's interesting that at the same time that this is happening, we've seen a press release today from British American Tobacco and CN Creative, otherwise known as e-cig. Up it comes. It's e-cig's basically been acquired by British American Tobacco as part of the company's long-term commitment to tobacco harm reduction. Blah blah blah, all of that kind of stuff. The acquisition of CN Creative is a natural extension of British American Tobacco's approach to tobacco harm reduction that's been evolving over a number of years, and both Chris Lord and David Nunes explained this is an exciting opportunity that allows us to accelerate the development and successful launch of our innovative and new e-cigarette technologies. Well, I had a Skype conversation with David Nunes earlier on today, and I don't think he was expecting what came out in the EU directive, because as he admitted, well, not admitted, but as he said to me, this puts an awful lot of difficulties in their way as well. This is not what they thought was going to happen. And it seems to me that what's occurring here is that the World Health Organization, who, by the way, I need to tell everybody, backburnered it all and said we need to have another couple of years to look at this, we need to do some more research, which is all well and good. So there was nothing going to happen as of the COP5. There was nothing going to happen there, and anything that was going to happen would happen at COP6. I wonder if they knew that Dali and Borg had this up their sleeves and were going to be getting it through in Europe, and I wonder whether they're just sitting back to see whether or not Europe can get this through, which again is a worrying point. But again, Sav,
I don't think they can.
Sav, I'll throw it over to you, because again I can see your eyes are flying about.
Yes, I've got a load of stuff that's just come through. Moonlit has said, don't most big vendors state on their site stroke flyers that nicotine is addictive and you shouldn't start if you don't already use it? Liam D. Vapor said, so does this mean black market juice then? To which Vapor Man responded, black market juice is going to kill someone as we're going to have no idea what's in it. Moonlit has also said, I'd have my e-cig embedded in me with a pipe hardwired to my lungs at that rate. Jeff Bennion has said, do they think we drink the nicotine juice? Sam Monroe said the great thing about facts is you can choose which to take heed of and those you can choose to ignore. Aldgate has said, so it is prudent to get a stock of juice before all this comes to fruition. I'm cheesed off with these unelected buffoons telling me how to live my life. Go away and leave us nicotine addicts alone and concentrate on fiddling your expenses. Tubes has said, but banning snus is also balmy. Vaporman says, when does the 5 p.m. curfew come into place, stopping us going out after dark? Tracy Collins has said, if you tax 4mg juice and people vape 20ml a day, that's a lot of money. Condor says, maybe we should get UKIP on board with this. And Vapor has said, everyone should be writing to their MEPs and newspapers.
And indeed, that last statement is exactly right. And here is what I would like everybody to do. And forgive me if I take the screen on this one, and forgive me, Matt, if I don't throw it at you, but that is a beautiful point to say this. The fact of the matter is, if we don't do it for ourselves, nobody's going to do it for us. Bottom line. We've gone past the stage where we can sit and wait for representatives to go and talk to these various different bodies. Patently, we've had a damned good advocate in Catherine Devlin. She's a single-minded woman. I know what she's like. She's like a dog at broth. She doesn't give up. She doesn't give up easily. But as we saw, she, I think, was played by the EU, was invited to go across and speak to them after they'd already set in stone what this proposal was going to be. So I think the time has come, it's probably well past the time, when individually we need to get off our backsides and do it for ourselves. And here's what I would like you to do. This is what I'm going to be doing. Contact, in the first instance, your MEP. You can find them on theyrworkforyou.co.uk. Contact your MEP and make an appointment to go to their clinic. Take your e-cig with you. Go and speak to them and tell them what your experience is and what you would like them to represent your, that you want them to represent your feeling in the European Parliament. It's got to go through the MEPs. They've got to discuss it, and you've got to make your feelings felt. You've got to make your feelings plain. Let them know exactly what it is you want them to do. That's the first step. The second step is to follow that up in writing, in an email, and also by letter, preferably recorded delivery, so that it's got to be signed for, so you know that it's there. If you do that, they have got to bring it up. They can't not. It's got to be, the question has to be asked. And again, tell them what it is you want them to do. Keep following that up. Keep badgering them. Keep asking them how things are going. That's 4 things with your MEP. And then you need to do exactly the same with your MP. Whether your MP has proved to be for or against e-cigs, whichever way, it doesn't make any difference. You've got to do exactly the same. Make an appointment to go and see them at their clinic. Take your e-cig with you and tell them your personal experience and what you would like them to do. The representation you would like them to make. That you want them to be your voice in Parliament, exactly the same as the MEPs. And again, follow it up in writing. Follow it up with emails and keep on at them. Keep asking the question. Only by doing that can we get all of these people to understand that we do not agree with what the EU has come out with, that we will not be dictated to, and that we want to get our views heard. And as our MPs and MEPs, they are duty bound to do that. Now that doesn't just apply in the UK, that applies in Germany and Holland, all of the EU member states. Wherever you are in Europe, do this. Make representations. Make your voice heard. Contact your local radio stations. Contact your newspapers. Write letters. Get onto every blog you can find and put your view forward. This, I think, is an attempt by pharmacy companies, having God knows how much they've paid these people off with, but it stinks of corruption to me. Absolutely stinks of corruption. We need to fight this the best way we possibly can, and the only way we can do that sensibly is by force of numbers. It's the only way it'll go. I'm going to shut up for a minute because I'm about to bust a blood vessel. Matt, would you agree with what I've said?
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that this plan can be stopped and it can be changed, but it will only be stopped and changed if we do something about it. And if we start to do something about it right now, it can't just be left till the last minute. I mean, we know that we've got right on our side. We know that we're talking sense, and we know that the plan as it stands, as far as e-cigs are concerned, are just balmy. So we need to be, like, as you say, put the process in place now about campaigning to our MEPs, to our MPs even, although to a lesser degree they'll have a lesser influence at this stage. And we need to start doing it now in huge numbers. This should be up on forums. Every single forum that you go to, there should be a stickied thread about this to get people interested. And it's not just people that go to forums. The majority of vapers don't go on to forums. So it's about talking to your friends and people that you see vaping and saying, you know, have a look at this website and see what the plan is, and find out who your MEP is and get that letter sent. And as you say, make the appointment, take up their time and show them the physical e-cig and explain to the MEP how it has benefited you and why you use a particular e-cig. It can be changed. We've still got a couple of years, but we have to start now. We can't just think, oh, well, there's 2 years' time, so it's not urgent. I think the urgency is right now, whilst it's in its early stages. And I think that's just the way it's got to be, unfortunately. Because if we do sit back, then the bureaucrats will have their way. But they can be stopped. They've been stopped before, and they can be stopped again. And I'm sure they will be in this instance, because what they're saying is it can't actually be logically justified. So we need to be highlighting that and highlighting the inconsistencies in what they're saying.
Indeed. Kat, have we got anything coming through from chat before I go to the first break?
I've got loads that have come through from chat. Vapement has said if they allow vaping to continue, it would mean the end of overpriced and ineffective NRTs. Troops has said, don't like the thought of getting into bed with tobacco companies, but it looks like it's the only way we can go. Maddie Paulus, before these draconian measures are brought in, surely they will have to ban normal cigarettes completely. Russell Ord said the WHO and the EU were about stopping the proliferation of tobacco nicotine use. It's separate from tackling the problems of smokers and current nicotine users. Moonlit has said 4 milligrams in a carto, call it 4 cigarettes worth. That's about right by their maths, I suppose. Jeff Bennion said, get the vendors to start gathering petitions, it'll hurt their business so they have a big interest in doing it. And Jimbo UK in 1977 says he will try and get a petition sorted and will post it up in the VTTV forums. And Condor has politely said, Dave, can you please repeat all that very slowly because he'd like to write it down.
I'll be happy to repeat it very slowly. And can you hang on to the petition one? I want to touch on that when we come back from the break, and we will be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk.
GG, because you want one.
iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv.
And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by vaporworld.co.uk.
And we're back in the room. Sav, can you just remind me again what it was about petition?
Yes, Jeff Bennion had said we need to get the vendors to start gathering petitions. This will hurt their business, so they have a big interest in doing it. And Jimbo UK said he was going to look into getting a petition sorted.
Right. Yes, it's a good idea, but it's no substitute for the individual approach. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Up until October of this year, I think it probably was, it was estimated that with 650,000 e-cig users in the UK and 1.5 to 2 million in Germany, and Lord knows how many in various other member states, let's use their terminology, there was a petition called for and a call to action to go and sign the petition, and out of, 3 million, nearly 4 million people in Europe, how many signed it? Can anybody remember? It was pitiful, absolutely pitiful. In the consultation that the EU has done, 85% of respondents objected to what they were proposing. And I can tell you for a certain fact that they are expecting opposition to this. And let me show you how I know. It's because I've managed to find a document from the Smoke Free group. What are they called again? The Smoke Free Partnership, looking for a world without tobacco. And this is their briefing, right? This is what they've been telling all of the members of the Commission they want. And you'll see that it goes hand in hand with what's actually happened. In their timeline, we get to item 5 here. It says if the proposal is adopted within the Commission, which it was, the proposed directive will be released publicly along with the impact assessment, which is what happened today. That was originally scheduled by mid-2012, but it is our understanding that it will be in the last quarter of the year under the Cypriot presidency, with an aim for the discussions to start in the first half of 2013 under the Irish presidency. So this is what's happened today. So it goes through the core point 1 of this co-decision procedure. It's shared between the European Parliament and the Council. Because of the complexity and political weight of the directive, we don't expect the Parliament and Council to agree on an amended Tobacco Products Directive text during the first reading. We expect the proposed text to go through a second reading, and the agreement should take place during 2014, hopefully before the new European Parliament elections in June 2014. Once adopted, the revised Tobacco Products Directive should start being implemented between 2014 and 2016. Now, what that means for us is not that we can sit back and wait. That's a call to action for every e-cig user in the country to do what I asked you to do. And for the sake of those that want to know, I will go through it again. And the steps are very simple. Make an appointment. Let's just do MEP. It's the same for MPs. Make an appointment to go to your MEP's clinic. Badger them until you can get one. Don't take no for an answer. Go, see them, sit down in front of them, take an e-cig with you, and explain your circumstances. And I'm putting it in those terms for a very good reason, and that is this smoke-free partnership is an official body affiliated to the EU and the World Health Organization, and it's got a lot of power. What they do is they kind of count the votes, if you like, in consultations, and there's another organization that does it as well, and they'll see a form letter. You know, when somebody goes onto a forum and says, here's the letter I have written, you might like to use it too, and they look for similarities, and they'll count one, but if they've got 101, they can only count one, because it's only one set of information. They don't count the other 100. They just more or less ignore it. Oh, that's a campaign. they don't like it. They won't reckon on it. So everything you do needs to be done individually. So get hold of your MP, your MEP. Tell them your individual story, why you disagree with what's going on. I mean, if you agree, that's fine, but I kind of think that anybody watching this show will. You know? When you've done that, follow it up with an email and write down what you said and ask them to represent that view on your behalf when next they are at the European Parliament, or if they're in any committees, but tell them that is what you expect them to do. And if enough people in each constituency does that, then they've got to do it. They can't ignore you. They've got to do it. That's in all of these constitutions, and the same applies to MPs. You ask the question, they've got to ask the question on your behalf. And if enough people are asking the question, can you imagine what's going to happen? If every UK MEP stands up in the European Parliament or in the Council and says, well, actually, there's half of my constituents have been to see me and they don't agree with this in any way, shape or form. This is what they think we need to be doing. That's what we've got to do. We've got to build this. Petitions as well, that's great, that's fine. That will lend weight to it. But individual action is what's going to really get this thing going. We've got to show force of numbers, not just in the UK, not just in Germany, but everywhere. And this is just on one small part of the directive, but it's the part that's closest to our hearts. That's what we need to be doing. We need to do it on an individual basis and show them that as individuals our rights are being violated, because nicotine is a perfectly legal drug. We've been using it for donkey's years in tobacco. They might not like tobacco, they might not like tobacco smoking, but it's a perfectly legal drug, and they are effectively forcing us to use the most deadly delivery method, because I can think of very, very few people that will be watching this either live or on video on demand that could get away with using 4mg juice. As has been said in the comments from the chat, I'd need 100 mils a day, for God's sake. Well, 90. Well, either way, I couldn't get enough down my neck. I'd have to drink it. Matt, again, am I saying this right? Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think by the idea of going to see your MEP individually is much more powerful than, as you say, 100 template letters being sent in. It takes up their time and it makes them sit and listen, and that is very powerful. It's a good way of getting the viewpoint across, and it's got to be done in large numbers. I have to agree with you 100% and say that this is what people need to be doing, and starting to do it now, and also asking their friends to do it separately to them as well. And it's very, very important. Like I said before, I mean, the plan is so balmy, it is just such a ridiculous idea that it just cannot be left to the bureaucrats just to try and push this through, which is obviously what they'd want to do. And there are ways of stopping it, and we've got to stop it now. I mean, it is such a bonkers plan that it has to be stopped, no doubt about it. And you know, we've got the truth on our side. Don't ever forget that. We've got the truth on our side. That if that 4 milligrams is basically pointless. It means if they bring in a 4 milligram rule, it will quite literally mean that hundreds of thousands of people just in the UK will start smoking again. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And people will get very ill. Some people, not everyone, but some people will get very ill as a result. And that situation can't be left to happen. You know, and it's not. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. There's still time to take action and time to stop it, and I'm convinced it will be stopped. The idea is so stupid that it has to be stopped. I'm sure that this won't just get left unamended.
I sincerely hope that by force majeure that you are correct, that we mobilise enough in order to be able to get these people to understand that we're not just going to lie down and take it. We're not going to be crushed. No way. I mean, my feeling is that we will get support. We should get support from every vendor, and from vendors, they need to be telling all of their customers in their very next mail shot that unless they take action, then the brown sticky stuff is going to hit the worry thing and it's going to splatter everywhere. It's what you need to do. I mean, we've got, according to Ash, Deborah Arnott, who is a latter-day convert to tobacco harm reduction. She's joined Jerry Stimson in supporting it. A little bit tenuously, but she's there and she's going in the right direction. I think we can probably count on Ash to help with this, because I'm pretty sure they're not looking for it. Jerry will certainly be there. Clive Bates is definitely there. CJ Johnson, all of these kind of people. I'm going to be talking to absolutely everybody over the next few days, well, as much as Christmas will allow. I'm going to be talking to everybody, because this is going to take a concerted effort. It's going to need everybody to be on board, and everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, the same tune but different words, if you get me meaning. Sav, again, I can see your eyes are going round and round like a one-armed bandit.
Yeah, I'll narrow this down as best I can. Allgate has said, isn't this where Eka and e-cigs will help, or am I way off the mark? To which Sam Monroe responded, seems the only way Eka can work is a unification of individual action. Tubes has said, I want to add, please no one think, oh, I won't bother doing all this because everyone else will. Everyone needs to do something. Strudels has said, Dave is our spokesperson, he can save us. To which Tracy Collins said, Dave can't save everyone by himself, Schnoodles. We all have to do our bit. Gary Wood said, a Facebook group would get global attention. Very Boring said, don't forget to hit Scottish, Welsh and Northern Irish MPs too. Tubes has said, is this the big lie? The ludicrous thing they suggest doing to soften us up for the legislation they really want? And Russell Orders said, existing smokers, nicotine users will not be covered by the 4 milligram rule.
And he's right. I mean, the 4 milligram thing is, it's the whole idea behind it is that Big Pharma wants to keep nicotine to itself. Somewhere in amongst all of this little lot, I've got another piece of documentation on all of this, but roughly translated, what it says is that nicotine, pure clean nicotine, not supplied by cigarettes, is only for smoking cessation. And what they mean by smoking cessation is nicotine abstinence, totally abstinent. That 4 nanogram of nicotine per milliliter of blood is what you would get from, is it a moussaka they call it in Greece, the thing that's got aubergines in it?
Yeah.
That's what you'd end up with. That's why they've picked that level, because it's a background level. It's not the level of anybody that uses nicotine recreationally. It will have no effect. You might as well buy one of those e-shishas. You might as well smoke zero nic as 4 milligram. I've never understood anybody that's down at 6 and 4 milligrams. You might as well not bother. It would be easier and probably cheaper as well. There's all kinds of idiocy that's going on here, and they're trying all kinds of different ways to justify this. But again, I'll say that there is the cause. It is my sincere belief that the big pharmacy companies are behind this. It has nothing whatever to do with health, and it has everything to do with pharmaceutical profits. That's exactly what it is. And if you don't believe that, let me tell you a story, and this has got nothing whatever to do with e-cigs, but it'll show you what the profiteering is like. The cost of manufacture of one Viagra tablet is approximately 11 cents in US money. 11 cents. Do you know what it costs to get a Viagra tablet, a single one, on prescription in the UK? It's 15 quid. What is that about? It's not about health. It's not about enabling gentlemen to enjoy connubial bliss. It's about profit, and that's all the pharmacy companies are about. Let me show you that again. It's Big Pharma. They have lobbied so well to get it effectively banned because they want to own the nicotine market. That is all it's about. and it's wrong. It's wrong on every possible level. What this is doing, if it gets through unamended, is that the EU Council becomes, in my mind, a pack of murderers. They will be killing innocent people by removing a clean source of nicotine that they can use and enjoy. Now, there may be a legal precedent that we can use to fight that, but until then, we need to get people out there. Upset your MP on Christmas Day, ring them up, I would. Sav, have we got anything else coming in?
Got a couple of things. Mitch Dog says spot on, Dave, and Jimbo says damn right, it stinks to high heaven of backhanders. And I was sent a web address which I'll read out for the viewers that'll be watching later, which is writetothem.com, which is the name of your MPs, local MEPs, and all those type of things, so you get exactly who you need to contact.
Exactly right, yes. There's they work for you and they work for you links to writetothem.com. And that's where you need to be. That's the UK. I assume, I hope, that in other member states, in Germany and Holland and France and Spain and Italy and all these other places, I assume they'll have a similar sort of thing. Everywhere you are in Europe, not just in the UK, everywhere, please, please, please take action now and tell everybody you know to take action now. Petitions are fine. It's individual action. Need to take a second break. When we come back, we'll go a little further into this and we'll talk about BAT and e-cig, and we'll talk a little bit about the FDA hearing, and we'll take more comments from the floor. We will be back in 2 minutes, and trust me, I'm still going to be here this time next year fighting like hell, and I hope you'll be with me too. Back in 2.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk. And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by Vaporworld.co.uk.
That's the little short break. It nearly caught us by surprise. We were having a little natter in the background there. Yes, this whole thing. The good news is we have time to fight this. We have some time. They reckon it could be as long as 8 months before the interdepartmental bit gets done. But let's not bank on that. Let's get a start at it straight away. In exactly the same way as we were talking about before, the FDA meeting that happened on Monday. We need Bill Godshall to come over here. I need to get Bill on the show, because if you listen to what he had to say, and I understand Link Williams will be producing a video. I don't quite know where that's going to go on the Kazaa site, I would imagine. It's going to be well worth a watch. Uncle Bill was brilliant, and there was some very, very good stuff said. Carl Phillips was brilliant. It was well worth listening to, because it put all of the points that we need to put, in fact, to those nuggets in Brussels, to be able to show that what they're actually saying with this directive is utter rubbish and is going to kill people. But let's move to BAT and acquisition. They now wholly own CN Creative, which is in e-cigs. And if you recall, going how long ago is it now, Sav? It must be 6 months when we interviewed David Nunes on here.
Yeah, about that.
If you remember, at the time I asked the question, are you putting this together for a sellout? And I well remember his answer, and it was quite evasive. But apparently I was right in my thoughts, and I'm not meaning to crow because I did not see this coming. Did you, Matt?
No, I mean, I kind of always knew that BAT and I'm pretty sure Imperial were going to enter the e-cig market. It was really a matter of when rather than if. I think deep down we all knew that was going to happen. I certainly was surprised with the way they've done it. Part of me was thinking they would develop their own product. I know it's easier for them just to acquire an existing company. I didn't expect IntelliSig to sell up to BAT. That was a surprising factor. But I can see exactly why they've done it, and I can see why BAT have done it. I mean, it gives BAT a product that's in development. They've got the Nicodex in the pipeline that I understand is almost ready. They've now got, they've got their existing customer base that BAT have bought, so they won't have any problems expanding and developing that. And I'm guessing that BAT are going to put a lot of time and effort into promoting Nicodex now, and they'll put that into every petrol station, every supermarket, every corner shop. That it'll just be absolutely everywhere, and they'll advertise it as well. I wasn't expecting it to happen exactly how it happened, but I guess I kind of always knew that the tobacco companies were going to enter. That was inevitable. And there's a link which I'm going to post up on the UK Vapors forum and all about e-cigs and a few of the other forums that I've got from it's a convenience store magazine which goes out to shopkeepers, and it's got an article in there with a quote from Imperial Tobacco saying that they have already bought shares in an e-cig company, but they've not said which one. And whichever e-cig company it is not saying which one, but that's already happening. So it's not just BAT. I think Imperial are just waiting for the time to be right, and I think their hand's going to be forced now by BAT. And so there's going to be, in a few months' time, there'll be 2 tobacco players on the e-cig market. When I first heard about this thing with BAT buying IntelliSig, my gut reaction initially was, well, that's actually good news because they've got the dollars to fight the lawyers, and that it gives us a bit of security. They're not going to take rubbish from no one, and they're going to promote e-cigs and defend e-cigs. And I was thinking they're a good friend to have. That was my first reaction, and now I've reflected on it. I'm kind of in two minds about it, because I think that they can afford regulation. It doesn't matter to them what Europe does. They can afford to get market authorizations if they want to, and it will knock out a lot of competition if they do that. So that's in their interest. So it could go one of two ways. It could be really good news for us. I suspect it might be a bit of a double-edged sword, and might not be as good as it first looks. They're certainly going to throw a lot of money behind it. And there was one article I was saying that they're investing, I think they paid between 30 to 50 million to buy IntelliSig. That was what the Manchester Evening News reported. And there was another article saying that BAT have allocated £100 million to promote e-cigs. So obviously they're going to be promoting e-cigs in a way they've never ever been promoted before. So the market is going to change. There's no doubt about that. And it was. In all honesty, I thought I kind of suspected IntelliSig might have been gearing up for a sellout, like you thought, and because of the way they were going. And I actually thought they would have been bought out by Nicorette or someone like that. And I didn't think it would be so quick as now. And I'm not sure it's complete coincidence that it was announced today, the day that the Tobacco Products Directive is announced. I'm not sure that that's a coincidence at all.
No,
I think that was quite deliberate.
I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence, Matt. I'm pretty sure it's been done for a reason. If you look at what BAT's bought, they've bought a two-pronged sword. You've got IntelliSig, which is an e-cig operation, and that's what they're about. Although they've always held this cessation side of things, they don't, in the IntelliSig side of their business, they don't push cessation. Certainly not over the last couple of years. But now, with Nicodex, that's headed for a marketing authorization. That's what they're looking for. So it gives BAT both sides of the coin. They win. It's a win-win situation. If the marketing authorization for NRT indications comes through, they win. That's fine. They can just kind of use the juice in the Nicodex. They don't have to sell it. And e-cig as an operation in the UK can just quietly disappear as they make all the money from the Nicodex side. If they have problems with the Nicodex side, they've got the money to be able to fight in this particular battle that we're all engaged in now. Now, when I spoke to David Nunes earlier, well, typed to him, a Skype conversation, I did ask whether or not this EU legislation was going to deleteriously affect what was going on. And he did say that at the moment it was a little bit early to tell. And the impression I got was that the BAT lawyers were going to be looking at this very hard and very quickly as part of their overall strategy to nullify as much as possible of the Tobacco Products Directive as they can. So I think in that respect they're going to be a good ally. And I think exactly the same will apply to Imperial Tobacco if they've invested heavily in an e-cig vendor, and it's going to be SkyCig, I would think. Going to be SkyCig, or it's going to be E-Lights, or it's going to be VIP. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of the lucky likey people. If they've invested heavily there, they too have a dog in this 4 milligram race. They're going to be doing their best to get that changed. The problem with that is, and I do see it as a problem, is that the World Health Organization and an awful lot of the anti-tobacco zealots want to see the tobacco companies put out of business altogether, totally. They just don't want them around anywhere. They want to punish them. This is what I've been trying to say for quite a while, but I don't think I've ever really got my tongue around it properly. The ANTZ, anti-nicotine and tobacco zealots, want to see tobacco companies buried. I have no real notion why. Some it's ideological, some it's the big pharma thing, some it's just because they get a nice pay packet out of doing it. For whatever reason they're doing it, that's the end game, is to get rid of tobacco altogether. So that might put a little bit of a dampener on what the two tobacco companies that we know about, and Lorillard if they're coming over, and Philip Morris who are also buying in. It may put a little bit of a dampener on that, but I do think that the amount of money that they've got can help. It can help a lot, in actual fact. So it's kind of good news for me. I think it's a win-win either way for BAT, and if BAT wins, at least we've got something, and they may be able to swing it so that bottled juice is still available, because that's going to be the difficulty for me. I will also say though that as far as the UK is concerned, and there's nothing in the EU directive that I've been able to find so far that bans import of juice from China or anywhere else for that matter. And the MHRA did say that they were not considering a ban order, and that it should have the word import in front of it, but an import ban order is not being sought. They're not considering it at this point in time, which should mean that it's not necessarily a black market that you'll see, it's more of a grey market of importation coming, and probably group buys in all sorts of different places, and meetups. So at the meetup you go and get your litre of juice that you've just ordered to come in from China. Sav, I'm sorry, I've been blethering away and I can see your eyes again doing a one-armed bandit. Over to you, my dear.
It's quite alright. I've narrowed it down to sort of 2 comments really. There's been a lot of talk about SkyCig in the chat already, that they're already sponsoring football grounds and things like that as advertisement for SkyCig and football grounds.
That's why they were the first one I mentioned.
Yeah, but Condor has said regarding Big Tobacco, they are better to have as friend than an enemy.
Too right.
Time will tell us which one they are.
Yep.
And Russell Orders said, I think the big players getting behind e-cigs is only good. I'm glad it's happening.
Well, I think, we've got to kind of look at it that we're going to need some money to fight this. I'm not talking about us as individuals, but and I've rarely used the word movement, but I think perhaps we need to. As a movement, we do need some big players with a lot of cash to get behind this and throw the money at it, because apparently from what I've been seeing, and we haven't even touched on all of the reports of corruption to do with this. Money talks. Money absolutely talks, and I do think we're going to need that help that we can get, but that doesn't mean that we can sit on our backsides and do nothing. We've each got to act individually, and if you like, be like a massive big shoal of fish, all swimming in the same direction, all turning and coining and at the same time, but each going the same road, but doing it individually, just as a group. And let's get everybody on board with this. Let's take action. The time is now. Enjoy your Christmas, then get a start at it. I think that's the easiest way to put it. What are your individual thoughts on all of this, Sav?
Regarding big tobacco, I've thought about it quite a lot, and I think it has to be a good thing for the very reasons you were saying. They have the clout, they've got the money behind them, and we're going to have something left at the end of the day. But all the EU stuff, I mean, I've read through so much of that today, and my brain was just cabbaged by the end of it. And I came to the conclusion I would rather, the same as someone said in chat, I would rather be side by side with big tobacco than big pharma. Every time.
Absolutely. Matt, your take? Are you about the same?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, remember, they are going to be, they'll have lawyers and lobbyists intensively pulling apart this products directive. I mean, it's going to really hamper their business, their core business. You know, they're banning menthol cigarettes, and it really is quite wide-ranging what's happening. But yeah, I mean, on balance, if like you say, if I had to pick between having big tobacco on side or a pharmaceutical company, I wouldn't. It would only take me a split second to decide that I'd rather have big tobacco, because they'd be much more likely to support my freedom to choose what I want to do with my body. And if I want to vape, that's what I want to do.
Well, exactly right. I would urge everybody that's been watching this program, this show, to go and look at Michael Siegel's blog, to go and look at clivebates.com, look at what he's doing, go and look at Velvet Glove Iron Fist and see what they're saying on there. Get involved everywhere you can. If there's an online news website that's carrying this story, and they all are, get on there and tell it the way you see it. Get it everywhere you can, because I'll tell you for why I'm saying that. Especially on the news sites that non-vapers use, they will see that the EU is allowing the use of e-cigs with 4 milligrams. They have no idea what we use. They have no idea how it works if they're not already using it. And they're going to say that it's allowed, and we need to explain to the world at large why what the EU is proposing is going to condemn 30% of the 4 million e-cig users in the European Union to a slow and painful death. I don't normally use emotive language, but I beg you, please don't ignore what's going on. Please, please, please take action. Get Christmas, enjoy Christmas, have a wonderful time. Don't worry about this over Christmas, but once that's done with, let's get it going, let's get it moving, let's get those MEPs sick to death of hearing about what we want them to do about e-cigs. I can make no more pleas than that. Seriously, just please do it. For yourselves, not for me. And for every other e-cig user in the country, we need to make our voices heard. Matt, last word from you.
Yeah, now's the time to act. This plan is absolutely bonkers, and they can't justify it. We have got truth on our side. So, yeah, let's all, like you say, enjoy Christmas. And when we get back, we've got a little bit of campaigning to do.
That's exactly the case. We have had, I think, a good chat tonight. I hope everybody is encouraged that we can do something to stop this idiocy coming out of Europe. Please take action. I'll see you tomorrow night. Well, if I don't, somebody will see you tomorrow night. Until then, don't have nightmares. Seriously, we will win in the end. We've just got to work it out. Till then, bye bye.
VT Talk was sponsored by Vapor World, introducing the straight-up range of e-liquid from the USA containing real tobacco extracts.